Hello everyone, this is Maki. The new story of G GUNDAM,英雄変生, focuses on the stories of Schwartz Bruder and Kyoji Koshu. Today, I'm going to introduce the final scenario. What events led to the birth of the new German Gundam fighter who appears before Domon and his team? Let's dive into the story of a hero whose life takes a transformative turn. Before Domon and Rain, powerful Gundams from the past are resurrected to stand in their way. The Urubei Gundam of Neo-Japan and the Nobel Gundam Lund of Neo-Sweden. A large number of Gundams, revived by the G-cells, line up in an orderly fashion, spreading off to the side as if to show respect for these two mighty warriors. Urubei and Dr. Mikamura watch Domon and his team through a surveillance screen. While Dr. Mikamura panics, Urubei speaks with an attitude that suggests he is enjoying the battle. So how will Domon Koshu fight enemy? Domon takes a stance to face the enemy. However, the Urubei Gundam moves with such speed that it appears to teleport, landing a kick on the Shining Gundam. The Urubei Gundam relentlessly follows up with consecutive attacks on the unbalanced Shining Gundam. To help Domon, Rain activates the Proto Rising Gundam and goes into action. At that moment, the Nobel Gundam Lund begins its advance. It dashes past the Proto Rising Gundam and heads straight for the Shining Gundam. Rain feels a growing sense of urgency, interpreting the enemy's actions as a declaration that she is not even considered a threat. The two Gundams continue to close in on Domon, putting him in an increasingly dire situation. The scene shifts to Urubei's office. Dr. Mikamura analyzes the battle. Rain believes that the Proto Rising Gundam was ignored because it was not considered a threat by the enemy. However, the analysis shows that Rain's assumption was wrong. The two Gundams retained memories of their lost battles. Specifically, they remembered their battles against Master Age's Gundam. Therefore, they targeted Domon, who uses the same techniques as Master Age, and began their attacks on him. Dr. Mikamura becomes increasingly anxious, fearing that the Shining Gundam might be defeated. Urubei, on the other hand, remains calm and confident. He calmly analyzes the footage on the monitor. Domon's Shining Gundam dodges the attacks of the Urubei Gundam and successfully counters the Nobel Gundam Lund. Domon carefully analyzes the attacks of the two Gundams and takes countermeasures. It is revealed that in the time leading up to the 13th Gundam Fight Tournament, Domon had been training with data provided by Urubei. For Domon, the attacks of the Urubei Gundam were something he had studied and mastered countless times. With the Victoria Stone, Urubei exclaims, as expected from Domon Koshu, the power inherited from the King of Hearts is truly magnificent. The scene cuts back to the battlefield, where Domon and his team are fighting. Domon decides to defeat the Urubei Gundam first. He activates the Shining Finger and grabs the head of the Urubei Gundam. The dead cells of the Urubei Gundam are destroyed by the Shining Finger, causing it to writhe in agony. Convinced of his victory, Domon realizes too late that he has lost track of the Nobel Gundam Lund. Rain alerts Domon to the enemy's position. The Shining Gundam, hit by an attack from the Nobel Gundam Lund, is forced to release the Urubei Gundam. The Nobel Gundam Lund gently puts its hand on the damaged face of the Urubei Gundam, as if concerned. Before Domon dies, the Urubei Gundam's injuries begin to heal. Realizing that the Nobel Gundam Lund is repelling the Urubei Gundam, Domon launches an attack to separate the two. Both Gundams evade Domon's attack and move towards an abandoned weapon stand. This weapon stand was retrieved by Domon and his team from Neo Japan's supply base. The two Gundams equipped themselves with whips taken from the stand. With their new weapons, the Urubei Gundam and the Nobel Gundam Moon launch a counterattack against the Shining Gundam. The two Gundams skillfully wield their whips in perfect coordination, steadily cornering the Shining Gundam. Rain tries to help Domon, but is blocked by a swarm of Gundams infected with DG cells. Realizing Rain's danger, Domon launches another Shining Finger attack on the Urubei Gundam. The Urubei Gundam immediately re-enters its head, but Domon keeps unleashing the Shining Finger, destroying its head again and again. Despite Domon's relentless efforts, the Nobel Gundam Moon continues to repair the Urubei Gundam's head. Watching the battle on the monitor, both Urubei and Dr. Mikamura begin to panic. At this rate, their energy reserves will run out. Rain shouts advice to Domon, suggesting that unlocking the functions of the Tosuki thrusters might help him turn the tide. However, just as she calls out to him, Rain is overwhelmed and pinned down by the swarm of DG cell-infected Gundams. Seeing Rain in an even more desperate situation, Domon's anger reaches its peak. Domon roars, "Don't you dare lay a hand on Rain, or my Gundam!" He activates the full power of the Tosuki thrusters, and the propulsion system on his back roars to life at maximum output. At the same time, his entire body begins to glow with a golden light. Both Dr. Mikamura and Urubei are stunned as they watch the transformation on the monitor. Urubei exclaims in admiration, "Magnificent! This power is far beyond my expectations." The Shining Gundam enters its super mode. With a mighty shout, Domon grabs the heads of the Urubei Gundam and the Nobel Gundam wound. Shining Finger Super Mode Double. The Shining Finger's glow intensifies, crushing the heads of the enemy Gundams in its grasp. The entire body of the Shining Gundam glows gold. Both Gundams explode and disappear. Emerging from the explosion, the Shining Gundam soars through the air, beating back the swarm of DG cell-infected Gundams and rescuing the Proto-Rising Gundam. Domon turns to Rain with concern and asks, "Are you all right?" Rain replies, "Domon, thank you," but quickly adds with a slightly annoyed tone, "Your Gundam is safe." It seems that Rain was a little offended that Domon yelled, "Don't touch my Gundam," instead of "Don't touch Rain." The moment the two share, their relief is short-lived as the enemies multiply again, advancing due to the regenerative abilities of the DG cells. The Shining Gundam and the Proto-Rising Gundam, having used up a considerable amount of energy, are left with only one weapon on the supply stand brought from the base. In addition, the Shining Gundam's Tosuki thrusters have overheated and taken damage. Domon notices a Kotono left on the weapon stand and seems to have an idea. The Shining Gundam sits down and crosses its legs. Meanwhile, the Proto-Rising Gundam picks up the Kotono. Rain speaks hesitantly. "Are you sure about this?" Domon answers firmly yes, cut it off at once, pointing to his own neck. According to the international rules of Gundam fight, a fighter is defeated when the head of his Gundam is destroyed. As long as the head remains intact and the official survival signal embedded in the Gundam is transmitted, the fight is not considered a loss. According to Domon's plan, Rain will cut off the head of the Shining Gundam and carry it away. Once she escapes, the head will be attached to the body of the Proto-Rising Gundam, allowing them to rejoin the Gundam fight. Meanwhile, Domon will use the headless body of the Shining Gundam to stop the army of DG cell-infected Gundams, and by time, this was the bold strategy that Domon had devised. The mobile fighter and its pilot, the Gundam fighter, are closely linked through the mobile trace system. Any damage inflicted on the Gundam would be directly felt as pain by the pilot. This strategy was extremely dangerous and fraught with risk. Urube and Dr. Mikamura, who watched the battle through the monitor, both felt a mixture of understanding and deep unease as the plan unfolded. Domon steadies himself, focusing his mind and solidifying his resolve. In response to Domon's determination, Rain raises the katana ready to strike. Rain, too, makes up her mind and swings the katana at the Shining Gundam's neck. But at that moment, a mysterious voice shouts at them, "Stop, don't act rashly. Use this to escape." In front of the astonished pair, the DG Cell army is suddenly tossed aside, and the motorcycle and Sinska designed for Gundam use appears. The new German Sinska stops in front of Domon and Rain. Domon demands, "Who are you?" but the voice brushes him off. "It doesn't matter, hurry." Without wasting a moment, the Shining Gundam and the Proto Rising Gundam jump onto the Sinska. The mysterious voice shouts the weapons are mounted, use them freely. Rain, still worried, asks, "But what about you?" The voice barks back, "Shut up and go," then continues, "Listen carefully. Head east." The Dagana moves east. Only Domin Koshu, the man with the hands that burn bright red, can stop it. Domon, startled, recognizes something familiar in the voice and is equally surprised that it knows his name. The voice shouts one last command. "Now go, leave this to me." The new German Sinska accelerates rapidly and begins its escape from the DG Cell army as Domon and Rain make their way to their next battle. As the motorcycle and Sinska accelerates, an enemy Gundam blocks its path. The Proto Rising Gundam prepares the machine gun mounted on the Sinska and begins its attack. The Sinska crushes the fallen enemies under its wheels, breaking through the encirclement. However, more enemy Gundams are closing in on the Sinska as they run alongside it. Domon instructs Rain to move the Rising Gundam to the tandem seat behind the Shining Gundam's position. Once Rain is secure, Domon detaches the Sinska section and sends it hurtling toward the pursuing enemies, causing a massive explosion upon impact. Domon is briefly relieved, but one of the enemy Gundams survives. The surviving enemy charges at high speed, attacking the Proto Rising Gundam and attempting to pull it from its motorcycle. Reacting quickly, Domon orders Rain to get out of her cockpit and into the cockpit of the Shining Gundam for safety. The enemy Gundam destroys the Proto Rising Gundam and then attacks the Shining Gundam. Suddenly, something falls from above and destroys the enemy Gundam in one fell swoop. Startled, Domon looks around, but sees nothing. Moments later, the space around them warps unnaturally, revealing the faint silhouette of a mobile fighter. It is the Shadow Gundam, using its stealth function to ambush the enemy. Domon remembers the mysterious voice he heard earlier. The image of Hyuji Koshu appears in his mind. But Domon shakes his head and yells that's impossible. Accelerating his motorcycle, he speeds away from the scene, leaving the lingering mystery behind. Time passes after the battle is over. Schwartz's brother lies injured on the ground while Kyoji kneels beside him. "Your body, I envy it." If Neo Germany had access to such technology, perhaps I could have saved my brother's life. In stark contrast to the wounded Schwartz, Kyoji's body is fully restored. Sensing the end of his life, Schwartz begins to speak to Kyoji. My time ends here. Take this my mask and Neo Germany's uniform. With this, you can become Schwartz's brother. This is my last German ninja art called Wari Ninjutsu. In this form, stand tall and protect your brother. Fight for a better victory. Schwartz's consciousness begins to fade and his voice grows weaker. Promise me that you will never end up like me. Kyoji accepts Schwartz's mask and uniform, a solemn resolve taking hold of him. I'm sorry, and thank you. Kyoji puts on the mask and uniform and stands tall as he makes his declaration. From this day on, I am Neo Germany's Gundam fighter, Schwartz brother. The newly reborn Schwartz snaps his fingers and calls for his partner. The Shadow Gundam disables its stealth and answers his call. Wait for me, Domon. I'll also be heading east soon. But first, the Shadow Gundam retrieves a machine gun from a coffin-shaped container and prepares it for battle. The destroyed Digicel army begins to evolve into the Death Army. With his weapon in hand, Schwartz shouts defiantly, "Come at me, Dark Gundam!" And so the story ends. The story of英雄変生has come to an end. It was a story that beautifully portrayed the friendship between Neo Germany's Schwartz brother and Kyoji Koshu. It also shed light on the origins of the Death Army. In addition, this story marked the debut of the Shining Gundam's ultimate move, Shining Finger Super Mode Double. Its successor, the Burning Gundam, has the ability to use its signature technique Burning Finger with either arm. Considering this, it seems natural that the Shining Gundam would use Shining Finger with both hands. If you want to recreate this iconic scene with gunplay, you have to buy 2 kits, and even then you have to convert the right hand into a left hand. Hopefully, future versions of Shining Gundam will include Shining Finger parts for both hands. It's also fascinating to know the change in strategy of the DG cells, which went from using DG Gundam type forms as Gundam fighters to a mass warfare strategy with an army of soldiers. At first, the DG cells relied on regenerated Gundams to fight. However, after experiencing battles with the likes of the Shining Gundam, they changed their approach and began creating the Death Army. This change in tactics proved to be a great challenge for the Shuffle Alliance Gundams during the intense battles in the Guyana Highlands. It seems that this strategy was indeed a wise one. While英雄変生has come to an end, a new story has been announced. Classified as a final chapter, its title is Sankyo Shinden Tohono Tomar. What kind of story awaits us? The title is a made-up phrase with intriguing meanings. San means 3. Kyo conveys loyalty, courage, and the spirit of helping the weak. Shin means new. Den means legend or chronicle. Tohono Tomar translates as treasure of the eastern region. Could this story be about a legendary jewel tied to the martial arts legacy of Master Asia? Let's wait with anticipation. Thank you for watching until the end. See you in the next episode.